Hey everybody, we are up to the final assignment here in the org behavior class. It's the Sunday reflection number 7. We've been studying creativity this week. Looking at some team dynamics is kind of a supplemental topic to look at. But really, as you think about rational and creative problem solving, I was going to try to type this out and realize it was just easier to make a video and tell you what's going on. So I've taught intro to business at the undergraduate level, traditional in-person class for a long time. Taught it way back kind of at the beginning of my teaching career, and then was actually able to inherit it at my previous institution the last couple of years. And so in that class, I think knowing me now through these different videos and things, I want students to practice leadership and teamwork and organization and problem solving, critical thinking, and the awareness of all these org behavior topics. And so give them a project. So instead of just talking about business, products and services, luxuries and necessities, the 4 Ps, keeping track of setting your cost and figuring out your revenues and keeping track of all the money, to let them practice. So what we did back in the old days and recently, I charged them with coming up with a project, a semester-long business project. And so again, kind of was able to bring that back to life in the last couple of years, and we've had some good success. So if you can see right up here on the shelf, right up here, there's a blue kind of aqua colored sleeping bag and some socks. And those actually come from a couple of creative projects. So the intro to business students, they broke into groups of about 4 or 5 people. They had to creatively come up with a business and conduct that business across the semester. I gave them a goal, usually about $250 to $300 across the semester, and I would front them the money if they needed it, and then they would repay it interest free to get started. What we did is, in addition to practicing business and working together through that project, we kind of agreed up front that we were going to take all the profits and we were going to use it for something good and worthwhile and interesting. So in previous years, what I did is we would pick a couple of charitable organizations, and it was really fun at the end of the semester to run into the nonprofit and hand them a check for $500 and say, this came from our business students, use it however you need to. That was a really good thing to do. This time, I want to do something a little different. And again, this is where it kind of taps into creativity, leaving time in your brain for things to incubate. And then when things start to connect and ideas, pop up, and then they link to other ones that you can come up with some really cool solutions. So my son, the one that you saw in the juggling videos, he's an unusual kid, but back in high school, he decided he wanted to set a Guinness World Record. And he found one that it was already on the website, the Guinness website, and it was on a unicycle jumping over a 2-inch barrier doing bunny hops. And the record was like 94, and he thought that he could beat that. So we did a little bit of training, got his legs in shape. He was already a unicyclist. And so when the time came, it was a Sunday, we were eating at a Mexican restaurant there in Abilene, and we had a bunch of friends there with us, and we kind of brought this topic up, and kind of the big holdup was witnesses. So we had all these independent people said, come with us. So we did it that afternoon. And the record, like I said, was about 94. He did like 439. So he just blew the record away. Well, that kind of, he enjoyed that. So during COVID, he found another record. And strangely enough, it was spinning a pillow on your finger. And the record was a little over an hour. Well, it was one night during COVID. It was about 10 o'clock. He comes marching in with his pillow and says, Dad, film me. So we sat up for 3 hours and almost 15 minutes while he spun this pillow on his finger. We found out that it was just beaten very recently, and so he's kind of saying that he needs to do that again. But anyways, this Guinness World Record thing that happened way before. Well, when we moved up here to Oklahoma City, like I said, I was doing the intro to business class. What are we going to do with the profits? What are some projects that I could have my students work on? And there was one night I got on the Guinness website just to see if his records were still there. And something popped up. And the thing that popped up was the record for the longest line of sleeping bags lined up end to end. And the record wasn't very much. It was 243 or something like that. It's like, that's not very many. So things started to connect. What if we would use the intro to business projects to come up with money, and then we would get sleeping bags and we would line them all up, end to end. The university would get some great publicity. The students would have an interesting thing to put on their resume. They would get to practice leadership and teamwork and management in business through the projects. And then when the project's over, we could give all the sleeping bags away. So we did it. It was April 22nd, a couple years ago, and we lined up 550. Now, that one's also been beaten. It was just beaten this past summer at Baylor. If I were still around and doing it, I would feel compelled to have to beat them. But then when it's over with, we gave all the sleeping bags away. So we connected with a bunch of different missions groups and churches and homeless shelters and other things in the Oklahoma City area, and we were able to give away 550 sleeping bags. That was a really cool, interesting, creative project. Socks. Okay, the socks are up there too. We realized, hey, we want to do it again. So that was my first year at my previous school. The second year, the students were like, let's do it again, but let's not beat the sleeping bag record, because that's kind of already our record, or it was. So we found another one, and it's the largest sock word. So it's a word, or it can be an acronym. You get socks and you lay them out so that there's no space showing between them, and you spell out a giant word. The record was like 1,400 socks that spelled out a giant word, and we ended up using our intro to business money to purchase a little over 5,000 socks. And students, we kind of did the calculations, kind of rational things. We had to get things approved, so we actually spelled out the acronym for the school. And then we did it on the gym floor. And fun stuff, connecting things. Found out that National Sock Day is December 4th. So we did it on National Sock Day, which was the Sunday before finals week a year ago. We spelled out the abbreviated acronym for the university on the gym floor. We had judges come in. We creatively came up with a system for counting them. We, when it was all over with, we had 5,000 socks all laid out on the floor. We paired them up, and we put them in groups of 100, so 10 by 10 grids. And then the judges could come and count the socks, make sure that the grid had 100 pairs, which was 200 socks. And we were able to knock that whole project out in about, well, after the socks were purchased. And again, there was a lot of creativity and rational. Where do we get these socks? We made contact with a manufacturer here in Oklahoma City, but they would never return our phone calls. So we ended up just ordering a bunch through Amazon, had them delivered. And then when that project was over, again, we had the news crews. I'll post the news stories from each of these. We were able to give those socks away to different groups. There was a homeless veterans group, like I said, several missions groups. We were able to take just giant boxes of socks to be able to hand out to people who are in need. So again, this last assignment, I'm just kind of asking you to think, what is something that's weighing on you right now, and where the rational system it isn't going to work, or maybe it's a combination of rational and creative. But let your brain kind of think about it. We're just down to the final week. But if you give yourself some time to think and connect and explore and look elsewhere, and then maybe little things will pop up that can be combined into something very interesting. So again, it's been a fun term. I've just enjoyed these topics, and I've enjoyed getting to interact with y'all through emails and different things that we've been able to talk about over the term. So that's it. Have a good week, and we'll check back in next week. Bye.